GG's. GG's, the daughters, hyenas, scuba divers learn from Scuba Steve was criminated, y'all, the daughter, Iraq Luther King X, don't forget the Kennedy doing his villain match right here on YouTube, the daughter. We conducted ourselves in the highest, the daughter. Life's what you make it, you can't love it, you can't hate it, it's gonna be strictly what you make it, the daughter. And we just living in that elevator, who's elevated? God's elevator, the daughter. It is what it is, the daughter. So, at the end of the day, a lot of people don't think they big Meech, but a lot of people they think that they these other fucking kingpins that happen to live in the game, or these other fucking infamous gangsters, all these notorious gangsters and shit like that. So these rappers, they've been living in an illusion, they say, and that's why BMF, Big Meech, he actually ain't really respected 50 Cent, because he's saying that 50 Cent is just a rapper, and even if 50 wasn't in the game, he wasn't a main pawn in the game, because he couldn't move along, So when niggas saying that 50 Cent, that he be saying all this shit about Ross, yo, Ricky Rose this, yo, Ricky Rose that, yo, Ricky Rose this, but niggas are saying that he's living just like Ricky Rose, and you can't be no hypocritical, That's what niggas says, that niggas be mad hypocritical, You can't be hypocritical out here, you know what I'm saying? You can't sit there, and say that, yo, Rick Ross stole his thing. Who the fuck this nigga's an officer? He's over here trying to be this. He ain't fucking selling this. He ain't selling that. He's trying to be Ricky Rose. And you got your name from original dudes too, So it's like niggas is thinking like, yo, how the fuck you talking shit about this nigga when you actually doing the same shit, Why you ain't just come out with your name, Why, like, who named you 50 Cent, and why is your name 50 Cent? And why is you named after someone else, This original, you know what I'm saying, dude. And that's why BMF ain't really respected what 50 Cent is saying, because BMF is like, yo, Big Meech is like, no, you should have just named yourself Big Meech. This is a rapper, you might as well name yourself Big Meech, That's just what it is.
You're gonna charge me with attempt robbery. If I attempted to rob him, I didn't rob him. What the fuck was I locked up for?
The parallels that exist between both the rapper 50 Cent and the original 50 Cent are ironic, to say the least. This candid profile clarifies many of the myths that surround his much maligned exploits and the sketchy details that led to his untimely demise. Gangsta, gangsta. Wow.
If you had money in your pocket and jewelry on, you tried to cross the street and avoid.
50 Cent was not afraid of anybody.
That's what made him so dangerous.
It's a lot of people walking around now with scars on them because of 50.
All his fighting was in his trigger finger and razor.
Them took losses because of 50.
Straight robbing people.
And some people ain't here because of 50.
It's either you kill or be killed. He blasted a few. It was a little short guy.
Short guy, you know, small.
Like 5'2", maybe 120 pounds, man, soaking wet.
He dumped him as the little bastard.
I didn't hear anything good about this person.
Just was a little nigga that was just running wild. That's how 50 lived his life.
That's the type of person he was.
I'm the same kind of person 50 Cent was. I provide for myself by any means.
Are you the same rapper nigga 50 Cent was?
The area of Fort Greene, Brooklyn, where the original 50 Cent grew up, has changed a lot over the years. So we asked one of the locals for his take.
And the original 50 Cent, you gotta understand, he's from Brooklyn. He's from Crooklyn, nigga. Everybody keep talking about all this Brooklyn shit and this and that. You know how Brooklyn get da. Don't be mad at Crooklyn, da. Straight up.
My name is Bobby. I'm from Fort Greene. We're out here on Myrtle Avenue. This avenue has a lot of history. This neighborhood itself has a lot of history in it. Myrtle Avenue was famous for raising hell, selling drugs. Everything was on this avenue. Whatever you wanted, you could have found it out here. From marijuana to LSD to acid to heroin. Everything was on this avenue. The avenue and the neighborhood has changed dramatically because I believe it's because the college students, they put a college here. It has gotten better since the 80s. The original 50 Cent comes from Fort Greene. He was a hellraiser back in the day.
A bona fide legend. Everyone knows a story about 50 Cent.
craziest story I heard about 50 Cent, like I said, this is just a story. He was going up and down Myrtle Avenue to every liquor store, sticking them up. I mean, he would go from one liquor store to another, to another, to another. Just robbing. He would have $1,000 in his pocket, and he would still stick up another liquor store. You know, he was just like that. He didn't care. He didn't care. I don't think 50 Cent cared about 50 Cent. And like I said, the story was he went from liquor store to liquor store, right up there on Myrtle Avenue, in one day. And he was walking. He had no car. He just went walking from one liquor store to broad daylight.
If you spent any time in front of the bodega or maybe the barber shop on Myrtle Avenue, you knew about his wicked ways, and you were duly warned to watch your back. Because I'm telling you, when 50 was in the house, it was like the Wild West came with him. Man, I mean, this boy was so fierce that he had 2 long barrel revolvers with him, trademark. Always had him. He was like a modern day gunslinger. His lethal teenage reputation was for living La Dolce Vita. But not only that, he had a bloodthirsty aura to go along with it. Some people say he liked robbing fat cats, pimps, hustlers, other dealers, and also purportedly rap celebrities. 50 would usually hide out here.
That's crazy, the dollar. So 50, the dollar, the original 50 Cent, the dollar, he said that he was robbing, that he robbed Fat Cat, the dollar. If he robbed Fat Cat, the dollar, maybe that's why 50 Cent named himself after that, the dollar, knowing that Fat Cat and Supreme got something going on, so he named himself the person who actually robbed Fat Cat before.
In the Albany housing projects after one of his capers. DJ Scratch, formerly of EPMD, remembers him well.
Everybody knows.
Yo, that's Supreme. No lie, the dollar. That Supreme beef between 50 and Supreme, the dollar. That shit made 50 who he is today, the dollar. Real shit. Preem actually made 50 who he is today, the dollar. Putting that pressure on him. And 50 Cent, the dollar, just taking all the pressure, the dollar taking all the hits when they come.
You know, except for the new generation right now, you know. 50 got down. Besides what he had to do on the street, he was straight up and down dude. He used to come through my hood, Albany Projects, with the gold Jetta. When the Jettas first came out, like, the Jettas was the shit back then. Yeah. He's the only nigga to have him, MC like Milk and Giz. They're the only ones that had the Jettas.
Rap pioneer Eric B was a friend and confidant of 50 Cent.
I met 50 probably was in 86, if I'm correct. 85, 86, around there. 50 Cent was just anybody and everybody. Your next door neighbor, the guy you hear about, you know, the street legend, your friend, you know what I'm saying, your brother. There's so many different 50 Cents, you don't know which one came to the party.
Oh man, I heard 50 Cent a long time ago, you know. It's like, this is certain niggas, they like made niggas.
If there's such a thing as a verse and a manager inside.
But the difference between Rick Ross and 50 Cent, the dollar, Ricky Rose tried to hide that there was a nigga named Rick Ross, the dollar, till he came out. Rick Ross actually came out, the dollar, that he was in. He could have been like, yeah, I got my name from Rick Ross, whatever the case may be. 50 Cent actually said where he got his name from, where he got, you know what I'm saying? Rick Ross didn't do that. The Kingpin Rick Ross, the dollar, came out and was like, yo, nigga, I'm suing y'all. The dollar, you took my name, the dollar, this is that, the dollar.
He was it.
An old school hustler who made his mark on the streets of Brooklyn, the homie as he's preferred to be called, witnessed some of the carnage that 50 Cent pulled back in the days.
The first time I ran into 50 was we went to Giant Stadium. They had a concert with Rick James, and then when the niggas from Bed-Stuy went there, they robbed the whole stadium, yo.
I always told him he was the college legend. They used to stand by the college and rob everybody at the college. And all the guys that I knew from Long Island used to, yo, 50 better not run up on me. Then I'd be with 50. 50 said, Eric, I robbed that dude. And I'd laugh at them like for the rest of the week.
Another close associate of 50 Cent was the notorious One-Armed Monk, a former fence from New York's 47th Street Diamond District.
All right, I'm going to tell you about 47th Street. 47th Street is like this. It's a place where anything that you steal, rob, take off the streets, motherfuckers bring it up there. And we buy it. It's like a Manhattan fence that's really watered down, but nobody know that. And like a lot of people I met came through 47th Street. Either they done robbed a jewelry store, they done robbed something, and they had something worth a lot of money that the streets couldn't pay you. How'd you first meet him? He would like rob somebody or something, bring the chain up there. I would hit him off, buy it off him, give him some money or whatever. And if I couldn't buy the stuff or it was too expensive, I would send him to one of the jewelers, you know, who I work with.
The Bonnie to 50 Cent's Clyde, Cheryl Blackie Ray.
I met 50 Cent in a skating ring, actually. One of my friends had an altercation, and I was pressing him to do something, like, you know, get at this guy behind his watch. His watch dropped off while he was skating, and we knew who picked the watch up, so it's like, come on, get your watch, man. Why not get your watch? And 50 Cent, I don't know where he came from, but he was telling me to mind my fucking business. Like, why don't you mind your business? If he don't want his watch, leave the watch. Why don't you mind? And, you know, we had a little thing, you know, we had some words, and that was it. And the next time I saw him, we were in the skating ring, and we looked at each other, and it was like, yeah, what's up? What's up? And from then on, it kind of clicked because we knew the same people.
He'll roll by himself, or sometimes he'll have some little guys little than him. I remember one guy he had, they called him 25 Cent or something. Somebody little than him, he had a little dude with him.
Every time I saw him, he was by himself, or he had followers. He had people that would basically get my coat, come here, dude. He had followers, or he was moving so fast by himself.
When he came through the projects, he never came through here with anybody. He used to come through by himself.
With mad niggas.
Nah, he used to come through by himself.
Word.
I never saw 50 with anybody. Anytime I saw 50, I always saw him by himself. Never. Wow. And you know back then, back in the 80s, you come to a nigga projects, you coming like, especially if you coming to see a chick. You know what I'm saying? Especially like that chick might not be fucking with niggas in a project, so a nigga from outside the project.
Wow.
You know niggas be mad about that.
Stupid.
He never got no feedback from nobody.
How did Calvin end up with the name 50 Cent?
I don't really know how he got that name 50 Cent, but I expect he got it because he was a short guy, because he was little.
I think he got it from Jimmy Dice one day. He made a bet of 50 cents, and they say he walked away with $500 that night.
Was he locked down?
What? I think in jail, he might have got a wind of the 5 Cent Nation, but when he came on the streets, he might have got into it deeper, because in the 80s, 5 Centers was like the Crips and Bloods is now. It was like something to get into, and some people took it seriously, and some people played with it.
That was the thing to do in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? It's either you're on the left wing side or you're on the right. Or you rocking with the righteous people. You know what I'm saying? You try to change your life, and you try to do things that, you know, coincide with being righteous. But, you know, 50 he come down to the mosque, want to rob somebody down there.
Knowing him was like, you know, he was a wild guy, like crazy. I think because he was short, he figured he had to be wild or crazier than anybody else to get respect.
His thing was to be at the person that everybody else thought was so much. That was the way I think he gained that respect, because those same people that were respected on the other side, that's what he went at.
He was the kind of guy that, like, a lot of hustlers would be hustling, and because he was wild, they would have 50 under him for protection.
Yeah, like the most notorious cats that get respect out here, you know what I mean, on some body nigga shit or whatever. Like, he had them niggas up for shit. So
that little dude.
I remember we had a party, and everybody from Brooklyn was at the party, and 50 was standing out by the tree with a mask on. And I came around the tree, I said, 50, come on, dog. Don't nobody know it's you? You the shortest dude around everybody, and you got a black mask on, standing behind a tree like nobody don't know it's you. Nah, Eric, I'm gonna get these dudes right here. Yo, 50, come on, dog. We ain't come for all of that.
Everybody else might have been trying to get a drink at the bar or trying to smoke weed. He didn't either. He didn't drink, he didn't drug. So he was always very coherent, like alert, where everybody started to slow down at the, you know, in the middle of the party, everybody mellowed out. He's still focused on what's what, or what could go on now, or who could be got.
50 didn't trust anybody. I don't think 50 trusted his own self when he woke up in the morning. He didn't trust anybody, and he always felt that everybody was out to get him.
He would always keep a gun at you.
50 was a little short guy that carried two guns, a 4.5 long and a 357 long. The guns probably were bigger than 50.
He just thought he was I don't know the right word, like a connoisseur of guns, taking it apart, putting it together.
That's how 50 lived his life. It's either you kill or be killed. Some people in life are suckers. Some people are some people are robbers. Some people are murderers. 50 thing is, yo, I'm gonna get you before you get me.
If you had to estimate how many people that this man murdered, how many would it be?
I might know maybe like 30 people, maybe he might have did some work on.
So this nigga was an outlaw. I mean, you can't just tear up 30 people, whether they're alive or dead, and just, shit be all right. Whatever it was that made Kelvin Martin tick. Eventually, a stint on New York's Rikers Island seemed inevitable. Locked up in the facility's infamous C-74 Juvenile Detention Center, young Kelvin Martin found himself in harsh but familiar territory. The first stop on what seemed to be the path of a career criminal, 50 Cent held his own amongst the band of teenage wolves that ran the jailhouse. One of 50's prison mates was James Roseman, a.k.a. Jimmy Henchman.
When I met him in jail, I didn't even hear nothing else about him until after he left, the penitentiary. The scenario was kind of, I ran, C-74 on the Jamaican side, on the West Indian side, and who he was running with was a bunch of Bed-Stuy and Brownsville guys.
So when y'all seen each other, there was a mutual respect there.
50 was one of them cats who, not knowing who I was, and I had some jewels on.
Stop playing, you tried to press me.
He didn't even try to press me. The fact was that I seen him talking to a few dudes trying to ask him who I was and why was I allowed to have so much jewelry on in C-74.
Say word.
So in fact, that's what made me kind of notice him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because when you adolescent, especially when you're in them youth camps like that, you kind of got to be alert and know, you know what I'm saying, fill your surroundings out at all times. Of course, I felt it was safe to walk the hallways alone with my jewelry, you know what I'm saying? In fact, at one point, he came into the house that I was running and immediately asked to get transferred. That's something that anybody would do if he know he's outnumbered and don't want to be in a house that, you know what I'm saying, where the opposing side is at. I don't think it was more of a punk move, but it was a strategic move on his end.
It's better to be safe than sorry. And that goes for everybody.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's how it was on Rikers Island. You know what I'm saying? And he was one of them guys that anybody from 83 to 85 that was on the island knew who 50 Cent was. And he was a small dude. And I was a small dude too, but you knew that he had put his work in, bro. You just knew that.
Did y'all ever cross paths after y'all two got released?
I ended up doing like close to 5 years. In fact, it was 5 years, and he had went home. So he really made his bones at that time in Fort Greens and the surrounding areas at that point. I started, guys would send me pictures from the streets, and I would see pictures of him and certain other cats. They would show me pictures of them or send me pictures with him and them with jewelry on. And at that time, jewelry was a big thing. If you was able to wear a quarter-piece medallion, you had to be a bad motherfucker, if it was silver or if it was gold.
Yeah.
So, when I'm looking at these pictures, this is around like 86, 87, and I'm seeing 50 with a neck full of jewelry, you know what I'm saying, at Albee Square Mall, which is one of the toughest neighborhoods, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, so dude is making his bones. And he was wild enough on the island that you knew that he would probably, put some work in on the street.
And work he did. Not long after 50 Cent got home from prison, he got back into the same old rackets, but stepped up his game by linking up with a crew local hustlers called the Supreme Team.
There was a crew called the Supreme Team from Fort Greene. That's where 50 Cent and the original 50 Cent originated from.
What it was, we was all friends and family. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, you know, Rap, Supreme were my dudes, and these dudes were under Rap and Supreme.
From the Lugo Brothers in Fort Greene to the Supreme Team that ran with 50 Cent and the whole crew.
If you go back and look at the history, and on our Paid in Full album, 50 Cent is on the back of our Paid in Full album. You know what I'm saying? Supreme, Rap, you know what I'm saying? 50. You know what I'm saying? Those were their dudes. You know what I'm saying? Supreme and Rap, those are my dudes. And this was an extension of the family.
He didn't have any parents. He didn't have no upbringing. He was raised basically in the street.
Rap was 50's mentor. You know what I'm saying? And Rap taught 50 all about the streets and the ins and outs of the streets. Supreme Brother Rap is one of those guys that you've never met in your life that feared nobody, nothing, and nothing at all. You know, that was his thing. If you was the police, or if you was the nigga next door, yo, dog, you respect me and I respect you. But if it's on, it's on.
You should be shootings out there every night. You find at least one body on this avenue every night. They were trying to put back into the community, you know, like they would rent a store, you know, and try to put back into the community. But at the end, I think the crack epidemic got everybody.
The original is so different. I didn't know he was part of the Supreme Team.
A fiction in Eric B's entourage. Some attest to accounts that Kelvin won.
So 50 Cent, the Dada, named himself after somebody that was part of the Supreme Team. I don't get it, the Dada. How can you name yourself someone that was after part of the Supreme Team, the Dada? Even though he's from Brooklyn and he wasn't part of the Supreme Team, the Dada, they started linking up, the Dada. But damn, the Dada, that's like different. Maybe he knows something we don't.
Once double-crossed Rakim for one of his prized pendants, and even caught LL Cool J parking lot pimping in a White Castle in Brooklyn, where he ran up on Mr. Smith for his solid gold rope. Now, true or false, anecdotes like this is only a big part of the 50 Cent legacy, something he was well aware of and had no problem exploiting. But even with his hard edge and his notorious gangster reputation, there was a softer side to it.
50 Cent was a very, very good friend of mine and the godfather to my oldest son. And a special person to me.
Born Kelvin Martin on July 24, 1964, to a single mother who was at odds with Kelvin's father, 50 Cent was a precocious child with a penchant for reading. At the age of 8, Kelvin's mother penned a note to the youngster and sent him alone on a 2-hour bus ride to the home of his paternal grandmother. Most of Kelvin's formative years were actually spent in the Bronx. Kelvin attended school and played basketball in a predominantly Puerto Rican community. There he was given the nickname Little Shab, so named by the older kids in the neighborhood because even as a youngster he was tough and always well dressed. His Aunt Patricia, seen here with Kelvin during less turbulent times, declined to be interviewed, but was generous with many of the details surrounding her nephew and his parallel lives. Close in age, they were more like brother and sister, except Pat was also his disciplinarian since her mother was too elderly to chase after him once they moved to Brooklyn's Ingersoll housing project. Friend and loved one Cheryl Ray.
I would say the nature of our relationship was more brother-sister. And yeah, like definitely a brother-sister. 50 Cent had a problem with everybody I ever talked to. If he didn't rob them, and then they wouldn't come back around me, or he would do something until unless he thought that person was right for me. Like, okay, you could be with him.
The streets of New York were extremely violent in the 1980s. Thus, Martin was particularly protective of his then teenage girlfriend, Precious Golston. One of the things I was thinking about, can you describe in your own way what our brother was like?
You know, everybody was talking about 50 Cent, 50 Cent. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking he about 6'2", 280. This was my image of this 50 Cent because, I mean, every time I would hear something about him, it was, you know, this guy. I was in Ivy Square Mall and I was on a I think I was on the second floor. And Trinity Jury Shop was downstairs. And as you walk out, you know, you can look straight down. And there was about, like I say, about 15 of them. But, you know, he always was the littlest, but he stood out. So it was a couple of my friends or whatever. And they like, that's 50 Cent. And I looked over. I'm like, that. And I just laughed.
He didn't have a problem with having a girlfriend. And the girls that he really cared about were not the ones like me, were not the ones with the big earrings or the gold teeth or the boosters or the jostlers. That wasn't the girl he was really attracted to. He was attracted to that girl that was going to school.
Let me leave it to you. What did you see?
He was my best friend. He was a damn good lover. He was a compassionate person, very charming, loud, good-hearted. He had the kind of sense of humor that would just actually charm Halle Berry mama shoes off.
And one thing about 50, he laughed about everything. Laughed about any and everything. Everything was funny to him. And he'd have a good time. His thing was, yo, let's go to the party, let's have a good time. Then he'd be like, oh shit, there go them niggas over there, I robbed him and him. But let me go get my gun.
I mean, he always was a happy person. Bad situations, he still made him happy. He always had a joke, something behind it. It wasn't like a depressed moment for him.
Why did he have so much beef?
I mean, I have heard a lot of things, but his street life, I never was involved with. You know, what he did outside, that was outside. When we was together, that was our time, you know.
Precious and Kelvin got so close that he moved into her family's small apartment right off Atlantic Avenue at the Albany Projects in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, after she got pregnant. His first daughter, Makia, was the apple of his eye, but he also had a special place in his heart for his Aunt Patricia's daughter, whom he helped raise. A family man at heart, he was especially protective of his brood and beloved by his neighbors. Fortunately for them, they never fell victim to his mean streak or the material lust that made him into an incorrigible stick-up kid.
Not long after we became friends, there was a girl on I don't want to say where because she tried to figure out it was me. She had a Louis Vuitton bag and I wanted a bag. I didn't have a designer bag and I only saw, and he gave me his gun. Go get it. I'll come with you. Just take the bag. Take it. Why not take it? And I think that was the first time I ever really had a gun in my hand and knew if I pulled this out, and I had him there with me, and everybody's 50 Cent. You know, they was so busy looking at him, they didn't even notice I had a gun or took her bag. They were so concerned with who he was. So that kind of made me feel like, wow, this guy got a lot of power.
Yeah. He was with you all the way. He ain't gonna give you 90%. He gonna give you 100. So, I mean, he was down for life.
There's a side of him that people just, I don't think they ever knew. You know, a very caring and concerned side. He didn't show it very much, but you knew it was there. He could come in and not talk to me and have a stroller for my son, or a bassinet, or a water cooler full of change, and maybe not even certain words, throw it down and leave.
50 Cent was very unpredictable, but if he had loyalty to you, you know, his loyalty, he'd ride with you until you die.
You ever seen any fights he was in?
Nah, he wasn't a fighter.
50 Cent was not a good fighter. If he being a man and I'm being a woman, if we could go toe-to-toe for a minute, he's not a good fighter.
Was he a touch-off?
I guess he did what he had to do.
Thank God I've never been shot, and I've been very close to him with a lot of situations. I mean, like actually walking towards him while he's shooting opposite me. And, you know, all we could do after that was fight. Like, why would you shoot with me coming across? That was this kind of stuff we would fight about.
Regardless to the street attitude that he had, that attitude wasn't towards me.
The friendship had gotten to that point that I knew, regardless of us fighting today, he was still going to be there with me tomorrow.
So he was able to shut it down.
Yeah, exactly.
And become who he needed to become at any given moment.
That's why he was so unique.
And very intelligent.
I mean, he can speak other languages. So it wasn't just, actually speak Spanish. Not just you know, a couple of sentences. I mean, he can flow with it.
Was he a heavy reader?
Yes.
Yeah. Revolutionary books?
He wouldn't read like I call them like those ghetto brown books, like those kind of books didn't interest him. More or less history. He would send different people to pick up books for him, you know, stuff like that.
50 wanted to be everything. You couldn't tell him that he wasn't. He wanted to be a rapper. He wanted to be a DJ. He wanted to be a stick-up man, a getaway driver. You know what I'm saying? Police officer. He wanted to be any and everything.
I already know that you had, you know, like a very dear relationship, and I know that he was happier, just as the way that we're made, you know, when we found love, you know. But were you able to see it in his face?
Oh, my family loved him. My mother, my sisters, I mean, they loved him. I mean, anybody that have ever really had a one-on-one conversation, I wouldn't care if it was beef, whatever. If you knew him, you knew beyond anything that he had a big old heart.
He wanted to be welcome. You know, he would give my mother some change, maybe. Leave money up. He was very respectable. He had manners. You can tell he was raised with morals and values and you know, opening the door, taking his hat off.
I think his grandmother raised him, from what I understand. And, you know, what can an old lady do with a young man in the streets of Brooklyn?
I knew his brother, B, and I knew he had a daughter.
In fact, Kelvin's second daughter, Shakia, never had the opportunity to meet him, but is a huge fan of the rapper 50 Cent, yet knows little about her dad except that he had a ruthless reputation. I spoke with her and her mother about the original 50 Cent. Let me ask you a couple of questions about your dad. What kind of stories you heard?
I heard many.
More good than bad? More bad than good?
More bad than good.
Does it matter to you?
I was blessed with the opportunity of meeting 50 Cent, this woman, the old lady, and his daughter. I ran into them, they came to one of my shows and shit, you know, and I really, like, when I was excited that they were excited. You know what I'm saying? Because I took, like, when the people you grow up, like, there's a lot of names I could pick, man. It's a lot of them out there. You see what I'm saying? And I picked that name, and I think when the world says 50 Cent, that she smiles, she's happy. That's my daddy, you know? It reminds her that he was a special person. Regardless, you know, to how people view your situation, hell yeah, he's special.
I see it this way, like, everything happens for a reason, you know, so like 16 years later for, you know, 50 Cent the rapper to come out and, you know, out of nowhere just, you know, take my father's name. There was a reason for that.
She knows the appreciation. Taking after her dad, so it's a constant reminder of who her father was. And if those people who didn't know, who didn't get a chance to come across this guy, understand, and that's the significance. But I knew everybody wouldn't know who 50 Cent was immediately. Not everybody, you know, but there's a class of niggas out there that know exactly who you're talking about and have 100 stories for you.
What was his biggest dream?
Well, he had a lot of those strong ones, though.
What was his biggest fear?
To be honest with you, he feared no one. From police to the boys up the block, around the corner, down on the other side. He didn't fear them.
But they feared him.
Yeah, quite a few people did.
50's biggest fear was being blown up, because we talked about the way he would die. And I thought somebody, you know, I said somebody's gonna strap a bomb to you. I mean, they're not gonna just shoot you, because he had already been shot so many times before that. And I said, they're not gonna shoot you. They're gonna strap a bomb or something to you and let your ass just blow up to pieces.
As Curtis Jackson grew into his own thuggish reputation, drama followed him wherever he went. Raised without a father, he lost his mother to a senseless murder. It is widely rumored that she lost her life in a beef over a debt owed to members of the Supreme Team that controlled most of the drug dens up and down Jamaica Avenue. Oddly enough, this ensuing crew from Queens allegedly took its name in part from the Supreme Team in Brooklyn that dominated much of the illicit activity.
You can't run from the shit, 50 can't run from the shit, That's crazy. Then they're gonna say his mom passed away because of a person from the Supreme Team. Then he names himself after a person that, you know what I'm saying, used to mess with the Supreme Team. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Activity in and around the Fort Greene area, and who the original 50 Cent ran with a decade earlier.
I took the name 50 Cent because I wanted to have a name of somebody that would have said something to me if I met him. You know, and it still says everything that I wanted to say. You know, without saying much, it says gangster. It says Fort Greene Project. It says a lot.
When I heard about this rapper 50 Cent, actually my oldest son was listening to some music in the car, and I was like, wow, that sounds pretty good. Who's that? I was like, Ma, you 50 Cent? 50 Cent's dead. What are you talking about? I said, no, this is 50 Cent. I said, no, your godfather's dead. And he, I just, wanted to see, where did he get this name from? Like, what made him able to carry this name? 50 Cent. Do you know who 50 Cent is?
That's an unusual name. So when I first heard that there was a rapper called 50 Cent, it always kind of made me wonder, did he, know 50 Cent? Did he imitate the name or get the name from this guy, 50 Cent?
I don't sugarcoat the shit, you know what I'm saying? They ask me, I'm like, yo, I'm named after a gangster for Fort Greene Project.
When 50 first came out, he never really told anybody how he got that name. You know what I'm saying? So if you're gonna take a name, if you're gonna take a name from, from somebody who put in work like that, who got a rep like that, who got respect like that, you need to always big that person up.
What was wild is I didn't think of the name that they made correctly. But a lot of people just so happened the first record that I put out that was notable was How to Rob. Right. And because
that's a different. Rick Ross didn't never told nobody where he got his name from. He just had his name. The other Rick Ross came out from jail. Then he was like, yo, that's my name. We was like, what the fuck? There's two Rick Ross. You know what I'm saying? But 50, he actually did documentaries about the shit.
Thing like that. Yeah, they thought, oh shit. But I got one from my account. I got back. Yo, that's the hottest shit I've heard or seen so far. You see what I'm saying? Just because, he had that relationship with dude, and he was like, yo, that's it.
I basically just left it alone because his music was good, and I saw him to be a very good artist, and he was maintaining the 50 Cent's name, but on another level.
They are from another era. They older. You know what I'm saying? I was like 12. I'm coming out on the strip when I was 12. My mom, that's when I started.
I don't know his history. I don't know what he did in the streets, but I know he's a good rap artist. If 50 Cent was doing rap, I would see him being good like that.
Considered by many to be one of rapper Jay-Z's primary mentors in the streets of Brooklyn, Calvin Klein got his nickname from the original 50 Cent and was one of his earliest partners in crime. Fresh off a 15-year prison bid, Calvin speaks to us about his old friend from a federal facility down south.
The artist 50 Cent and the 50s I know, the comparison that I was seeing them is that, the drama that circled around their life in general. I see Son go through a lot of trials, and he got a lot of controversy built around him, you know what I'm saying? And, that's the same way that, the original one had.
The people from that world, the niggas from that level, understand it and they respect it. You know what I'm saying? And
that's crazy, Yeah, you gotta respect it, It's crazy because it makes sense. Rick Ross, he got a name from a hustler, So, you know what I'm saying? His name's around, you know what I'm saying? With Rick Ross, you look at Rick Ross, how you look at there are other Rick Ross, like, oh shit, getting money, good, do, You look at 50 Cent, like the other 50 Cent, you look, yo, that's crazy. That you take your energy, it's just like, you know what I'm saying?
To the world. Because everybody there wasn't totally aware of it. So that's why I gotta constantly remind them.
He does it now, but he wasn't doing it at first. You know what I mean? But I guess he didn't know that people knew about 50 like that. You know what I mean? Like, big respect to him because 50's from Queens. 50 from Brooklyn, you know what I mean? So, which is kind of hard, but that's a big honor. You know, on 50, God bless his dad, from a Queens nigga to take the name of a Brooklyn nigga, which don't happen. You know what I'm saying? Either it's rap or it's on some street shit. You know what I'm saying? So, love 50 for that. Like, that's my dog.
His presence is definitely bigger because I chose to use that name. And that's what makes it special. If I name myself fucking Al Capone, that nigga wouldn't shake my hand. You see what I'm saying? If I ran into this nigga, or you name yourself fucking Gotti, I'm gonna take the opportunity to take a shot at it any chance I get, man.
I'd rather you rock with a black dude.
Yo, did they just come out, yo, Gotti, da-da-da? Did they just see that you name yourself Gotti? Like, you know, they coming out, yo, Gotti, da-da-da? Well, this was dope. Well, this was dope. That's crazy.
Rocking with, you know, John Gotti and all these other dudes, you can't really relate to what they do. You know what I'm saying? Yo, if you want to idolize somebody and you want to rock, you know, where 50 Cent took the name, you know what I'm saying? I'd rather you rock with a 50 Cent, you know what I'm saying? Or Fat Cat, Pappy Mason, or all of these different dudes that had different elements from the street that are really strong, but they are great people all the way around. Of course, rock with them.
What name you would say matched his personality?
And the only reason why I picked this name is because I have really, really thought about a lot of things that this person say. And I would think Tupac, honestly. From a one-on-one with me and him, he was that deep, you know? I mean, the words that he would say, I never heard nobody else say them words until I started listening to Pac.
In contrast to today's rapper, not saying any names, you know a brother, we're talking about a brother who was really like that. And then we hear lyrics about portraying a certain lifestyle. Was he more true to what's being said now back then?
He's more realer to what the rappers rap about than what the rappers really be about now.
If you listen to some of Biggie's music and they talk about snatching chains in the Roxy's, I don't remember any of them, and I was there snatching chains in the Roxy's.
You see a lot of different artists that come out and they'll tell you, you know, I'm like this, I'm from the hood, or I'm like this is how I do, you know, I'm gangster, whatever. But you can tell as soon as you look at them niggas not from that vein. You know what I mean? Because they emulate what they was afraid of. You know, see a nigga with his face tough all the time, shit like that. You know, so you see me grinning most of the time.
Rightfully so. With over 12 million albums sold worldwide, multi-million-dollar sponsorship deals, and a litany of other lucrative ventures, it seems that Curtis Jackson has a whole lot to grin about. Writer and pop culture pundit Torre explains how 50 Cent was able to make crime pay in Middle America.
50 Cent is just providing you the image of the drug dealer, like nicely packaged and glossed, and you know, you can take it home and like, wow, he's a real hardcore crack dealer from Queens.
Since 12, I learned to provide for myself in that situation.
There are very, very few rappers who are current criminals, who are also criminals, who have other jobs as criminals.
With a title like Get Rich or Die Trying, I felt like my average working class person saying they gonna get rich or die trying just means that they're determined and they ain't gonna stop for nothing to get what they gotta get, you know. And people, for me, because of my lifestyle ahead of it and the things that they've heard about my life, makes them think that I mean it literally, but I do.
There are some rappers who have been criminals. There are some rappers who people who become rappers and then they are forced into situations by, you know, people attacking them or things happen.
Niggas know my track record ahead of music, you know what I'm saying? And it's not that a nigga gangster was number one, but a nigga is real with it.
So many people seem to think that there are a lot of guys who are on the mic and are, you know, dealing coke or, you know, and I just haven't seen that.
The parallels that exist between both the rapper 50 Cent and the original 50 Cent are ironic, to say the least. Why would he choose the name of the grimiest member of the crew as opposed to one of the big dogs like Demencio or even Killer Ben, the only cat from Fort Greene with a mural in his honor?
If this 50 Cent that's here now, what he's rapping is what my 50 cents was.
When I first started hustling, I used to have to tell my grandparents I was in an after-school program in order to get the extra 3 hours to be in the studio.
If he's rapping what he's lived at, guess what? It's a comparison life.
The rap star's former manager, Chaz, a.k.a. Slim, gives us his particular take on the sordid rap of the original 50 Cent.
The 50 Cent from Fort Greene, I didn't really personally know him, but just to keep this shit straight, that, like how the hood is, we get fucking accurate information on people. And the things I've kind of heard, he had kind of like a grimy reputation, you know what I'm saying?
I'm from Queens, but I had niggas around me they were in that age bracket. So he was seriously relevant to them.
50 Cent the rapper, I know 50 because I'm from Southside, Queens, and 50 came to me a while ago because, I kind of understood his music.
I fell in love with this shit in 97 and been crazy about it.
I knew through the Columbia situation, that's when I was involved with Trackmaster stuff, and, we began to talk about, his career, whatever, and we decided on a handshake that I co-managed him.
I'm on Columbia Records, and I get $65,000 in advance when I do the deal. $50,000 goes to Jam Master Jay. $10,000 goes to the attorney to negotiate the release between me and Jay, and my new deal with Columbia. I got $5,000. I bought 250 grams. I was right back on 134 because I broke. But I had a little boy. My son on PC7 right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta take care of this little nigga. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I gotta do what I gotta do.
His music, man, was like music that I kind of understood, you know what I mean? Because he was talking about shit that, I kind of lived, and I kind of really was feeling what his music was about.
I don't listen to a nigga like a critic and be like, yo, that shit's whack. I hear something hot, I'm like, damn, son, that shit's hot, I'm doing it over. Right away, and give them my take on it. You know what I mean? So if it's mine, my shit is my shit. Your shit is our shit. We gonna share that. Cause I'm gonna put it back on the street before niggas can get used to you.
They need to say some shit.
Like Big Meech doesn't have that. This shit loud shit. You like, nah, son.
And I'm not saying he was a killer or nothing, but I mean physically he would handle himself. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't scared to, to knuckle up with a motherfucker. He wasn't like that.
Yeah, some niggas are weak. No matter what. You see me in my situation, when you look and you say 50 Cent, you say G-Unit, you say I'm ahead of the situation. Because I created the situation. Because niggas didn't believe in the situation.
50 had, he had a song called Ghetto Quran back then. I told him although the concept was hot, and I told him that wasn't a very good idea, to put that out,
What was his response to that?
He didn't do it at that time. But 50 actually, as he goes along, 50 is one thing. He might respond one way at a time, but in 50's mind, 50 does what 50 wants to do, right or wrong.
There's two different kind of people. There's people who do the wrong thing and enjoy doing the wrong thing. And there's people who provide for themselves by any means. I'm the same kind of person 50 Cent was. I provide for myself by any means. If I'm starved, you'll see a different nigga.
In the song Ghetto Quran, 50 mentions several of his area's biggest hustlers by name, as well as referencing some of their most infamous capers in the record, which by hood standards is taboo.
I think that he did it really because he was really I don't want to say proud to be from Southside, but he was proud to be from where he's from, like anybody else, and he was repping his hood. But if you notice that, in I think one of the newspaper articles, they had the lyrics from the song. The law enforcement, when they hear shit, they take that as truth, and it could come back to haunt you.
He is quoted as saying, when you hear talk of the South Side, you hear talk of the team. See niggas feared Prince and respected Preem. For all these slow motherfuckers, I'ma break it down iller. See, Preem was the businessman and Prince was the killer. He even mentioned Williams by name in the song. Quote, man, I'ma get cheese like Chaz, then run through whips like cigar. It was lyrics like those that not only exposed these men to heightened scrutiny by the authorities, but also earned the rapper the antipathy of the city's most notorious gangsters.
And he did it, you know, like he didn't do it with that understanding. He didn't understand it as, you know, dry snitching situation. He again was paying homage to his hood, and that's what he thought he was doing.
I'm happy to have went through the things that I went through then, because I'm happy to be who I am today.
To add fuel to the fire, 50 Cent was already beefing with Ja Rule and his crew over an incident involving a fight between both camps at Manhattan's Hit Factory recording studio, which left 50 Cent and his associate bruised and stabbed. Matters got worse when one of the two men filed a police report over the incident at the 53rd Precinct, just a block away from the studio. After speaking to an attorney, someone was convinced that by filing the report, they could win millions in a court settlement instead of a few $100,000. 50 Cent was then labeled a snitch by Herb Gotti.
We actually, you know, just resolved the relationship, you know, just prior to, I think, one of his first incidents in the Hit Factory. You know what I mean? And, you know, just parted on the handshake.
The niggas just from that era teach you. You see what I'm saying? That I never was trying to be intimidated, because that gets your head blown off.
Shortly thereafter, Curtis Jackson almost had his head blown off when he was shot 9 times as he sat in the car in front of his grandmother's house in South Jamaica, Queens. Word on the street was that someone associated with either Supreme or Murder Inc. was involved in the plot, that this man, Darryl Baum, a.k.a. Homicide or Homo for short, was the trigger man. Homo, a known killer and rumored to be a paid hitman, ironically was a friend of the original 50 Cent. No one was ever charged for the crime. Luckily, Curtis Jackson survived.
After I healed up and everything, when I was back, you know, I was running around booked with the best guns every day, just because I didn't have an option. Music, who says the music is gonna work? You know, to this point, it's always ended up in another space for me. You know, this is the third deal I'm doing right now. The Shady Aftermath. I said, this gotta work now. But before I gave that a shot, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was rapping just because I love music.
On the hit single, Many Men, 50 Cent says, quote, in the Bible it says what goes around comes around. Homo shot me, 3 weeks later he got shot down. Now it's clear to me I'm here for a real reason, cause he got hit like I got hit, but he ain't fucking breathing. He even implicated Chaz on the record, but by his other nickname, Slim. Slim switched sides on me, let niggas ride on me. I thought we was cool. Why you want me to die, homie?
I just want to be clear on something. You know, I'm on the same side that I always been on. You know, I'm not here to bash 50. I'm not saying that he's a snitch. You know, but when people say you're a snitch and you don't call me to clear it up, there's nothing I can do. You know what I'm saying? And when you don't return my calls, there's nothing I can do.
The two men as of yet have not spoken. Why has 50 become a street legend?
I guess with the rapper 50 Cent, you know, saying that he got his name from this guy from Fort Greene, and, you know, not just to say because of him, he has always been internationally known before the rapper. But I guess he just put a little more icing on the cake.
After I met with his woman, I felt like and from her conversations, you know, that they did expand a lot of the shit. You know, of course he was a gangster that they say he was, but a lot of shit they added to it.
50 Cent, the rapper, was here with 50 Cent, the gangster. Would they get along?
They would probably get along, but 50, the gangster, would probably try to extort him for using his name. I could see that.
The little bastard?
The little bastard would try to get paid off the rapper because he used his name, or I'm 50, you're not 50. It would start like that. And then it would be money involved. He would start it so he could get some money from the rapper.
And if the rapper didn't pay?
more than likely it would be a problem.
For whom? In time, Kelvin Martin graduated from petty larceny and started looking for the big score.
50 was a thorough nigga. The late 50, anyway, I'm talking about, you understand me? No matter all the crud bullshit that he did, you understand me? He did it his way and no other way. Reason for me saying that, son, is this, yo. He broke all the motherfucking rules back in the days, yo. Back in the days, us niggas had certain codes that we go by. He used to say, man, fuck them codes, yo.
Sadly, 50 Cent started robbing just about whoever he could, particularly several of the area's biggest hustlers, some who were friends. But needless to say, men like him don't have friends, just associates they haven't crossed yet.
He violated the rules, you know what I'm saying? And, it cost him dearly, you know. That was like certain situations, you know, no matter how much you try to, like, correct it, you know what I mean? I had so many people try to step in and try to, like, you know, correct it. Certain situations, you know, when you violate certain people, you know what I mean? It's just like, there's no way of correcting that. Really, at that point, nobody else ever really seen him no more after that.
Extortion, subtle as it may be, wound up being both his financial windfall and his personal downfall. Draped in gold with his pockets full of cash and pimping a tricked-out Volkswagen Jetta, Kelvin Martin's lust for material wealth turned homies into victims and his name into mud. He pressed one too many G's, lost his ghetto pass, and his bulletproof status was revoked. $50 Cent left Fort Greene and took solace up here in Albany Projects, where he was hiding out with his girlfriend. What really led to his demise?
His enemies, and they know they place. But his friends, like his soldiers, you know, he trusted them. He trusted them so much that he couldn't even see that they wasn't loyal.
Are you saying that you saw that?
It was so good that I didn't even see it.
I believe why things got worse with him is his involvement with other entities other than what everybody else saw. You know, not for his actions, but for his knowledge.
Honestly, and it's just my opinion, I believe that he knew that he was not going to be there very long. And it was just only like it was like a day-to-day living.
Beef got so deep for Kelvin in the streets of Brooklyn, he took refuge in the one place he could hide, the United States Army.
He stayed in the Army about 6 or 7 months. Maybe about 6 or 7 months, enough to go through basic training and then to have some type of job function while in the military. It was so crazy, funny, you know, he sent pictures and just to see this guy in a military uniform and really serious about, you know, like he would say, I'm in the fucking Army, bitch, you know, on the bottom of the pictures.
Hey, black ass, I know things should be swinging for you by now if you took my advice and got a job. I miss your black ass so much I could cry. I want you to make some lookouts for me in court, because I don't want them looking for me yet. Well, I hope you find time to write back. If not, fuck you. Send some flicks. Love always, your brother, 5-0.
According to his Army records, which the infamous Times has acquired, Kelvin Martin made good marks in the military and showed promise for a solid career in the U.S. Army.
His reason for going in the Army was that he was running. He was trying to get away. I can't remember exactly who was trying to kill him at that time. But people were after him. They were after him to the point that he wouldn't come to the house because he thought people were following him. And he knew he just had to go. And his concern was, at this time, not just himself, but the other people that he had in his life, his family in Fort Greene, his daughter, his godson. You know, he was concerned.
I respect him because you have a lot of individuals that, you know, will run and hide and jeopardize other people. But that's one thing, you know, most of all, he tried to do was keep his family out of it.
However, the long arm of the law eventually caught up with him down in Fort Benning, Georgia. Fulfilling a warrant on an outstanding felony, he was honorably discharged and brought back to New York to face charges on yet another robbery. He would also have to face some of his old demons as well. Now literally a trained killer, 50 Cent was even more dangerous. With his back to the wall and a new bag of tricks he picked up from boot camp, he was much more proficient with a firearm and more willing to take the life of anyone who got in his way or threatened him or his family.
Now I remember 50 being shot in the mall. 50 had robbed the dude's brother like maybe a month before that, him and one of his partners. So the guy came back and robbed 50's partner. Then 50 and this other kid came in Albany Projects and shot a hole through the dude's door. Like knocked on the door and waited for somebody to come and just shot a hole through the people. So when 50 saw the guy brother in the mall, he thought it was the dude he robbed. Because the brothers look alike. And he tried to approach the young boy. And that's when the kid shot 50. I don't know how long he stayed in the hospital, but that still ain't changing, because when he came out, he was still doing his same shit. I think that might have made him crazier, being shot and not killed.
Why so?
Because usually if you get shot and it don't kill you, you think you're invincible.
He had gotten shot and people believed he was dead. And he just left it that way until he decided to really come back out.
He was shot at Albee Square Mall. Once and survived. As you remember, was he different after that experience?
That's, I believe, when the vests really came into motion. And it wasn't every day that he wore a vest now. I mean, you know, people who start exaggerating, it wasn't every day that he wore a vest, because if that's the case, we wouldn't be sitting here now.
He never tried to pull his coat. Did you see something like he was going too far, man?
Yes, he was going too far. And like it was hard. It's hard to like direct somebody in that type of atmosphere that's going crazy, robbing, stealing, shooting. I guess the rush for them keeps them doing it. And nothing you can say could stop a person that's getting high on something that's making them feel good.
He knew that people were after him. You know, he knew, you know, it was like, I need to do something or I'm gonna die.
When I seen him, he ain't have a sneaky look about himself. He had more like a humble look. It wasn't the same way he used to be, like ready for anything, sneaky, gun showing, all of that. He was more relaxed and more cool about things.
Did 50 know something was going to happen to him?
Yes, he knew something was going to happen to him because he came to Albany Projects to hide out. And when you got 5 boroughs and you've been doing a lot of shit in Brooklyn, it's not good to hide out in Brooklyn. But for him to run to Albany Projects as his last resource to hang out at, I think he felt something coming. Because he might have figured that would be the last place somebody would look for him. It's in the projects in Brooklyn.
He felt it in his heart, in his spirit, and his soul, that he was going to die. I remember talking to him like it was yesterday, and he told me, he said, Eric, you know what? Before the year, please listen to me. And he turned around and looked me in my face and said, Eric, please listen to me, man. I'm telling you, I'm going to die before the year's out. Either I'm going to get killed in a police car chase, or shootout, or somebody going to kill me. I'm telling you, dog, I'm going to live and live my life to the fullest right now.
Was there any talk on the street that, you know, something was coming this way? Were there any, like, warnings that you ever saw that he might have been, it was time for him to get out? For the game?
Yeah, but actually, I ain't never heard any talk or anything like that. But the day he got killed.
Why did 50 Cent name his name after?
He came around, do his usual pull up over here, and I noticed that somebody broke his window, which was crazy. Like, yo, this nigga, somebody broke 50 Cent window. Like, that's crazy. So that was like basically a warning right there. You know what I'm saying?
The last thing I remember saying to 50 was, down here in Albany Projects, more than likely you'll be safer here than anywhere else, because no strangers will come down here to try to do anything to you.
Hold. Nobody just walks up in Albany.
Whoever would do anything to him would have to be somebody he know in order to come in the projects, to hang around the projects, to do anything to somebody in the projects during that time.
Not only that, wouldn't you? Would anybody have to be for a brother like that? Be close to him? To get up to him?
Yes, it would have to be a friend of his to even come in there unannounced or announced or anything. So,
especially if you on the run. If you hiding out, you're not just gonna let anybody next to you. You ain't gonna let nobody near you unless you know him.
You're right.
Unless you really know that nigga. As you would expect, there were plenty of giants who had a motive for having 50 Cent wasted, and plenty of wannabe giants itching to rub him out. Forgive me for asking this, but back in those days, who had access to an army?
I don't know.
Who would have the balls to do something like that?
I don't know.
Against a giant?
I don't know, honestly.
I know for me, coming from that neighborhood and, being a male, it would have to be another giant or someone who wants to be. Either way, by this time, 50 Cent had made so many enemies that who did it wasn't important. The entire neighborhood knew why he was killed, for being the grimy dude that he was. Ultimately, the man who pulled the trigger was neither giant nor wannabe giant. Kelvin Darnell Martin, a.k.a. 50 Cent, was shot and killed by Julio Acevedo, a.k.a. Wemo. Wemo was forced to do it after anonymous culprits kidnapped a member of Acevedo's family, threatening to kill them unless and until Wemo, one of the few who knew where 50 Cent was hiding, would go and kill him once and for all. Kelvin was shot on Friday, October 20th, 1987, around 10 p.m. after leaving Precious at her 13th floor apartment in the Albany Projects. Minutes later, he was found alone and alive, but bleeding to death on the 7th floor stairwell by a neighbor on that floor who heard gunshots. Martin had suffered several bullet wounds, including one shot to the back of the head, and he was rushed to Brooklyn Kings County Hospital. There he was kept in ICU under police protection until his condition improved, and it was believed he would survive. He was later moved to a general care ward of the hospital, only to have his health worsen suddenly. Kelvin 50 Cent Martin died on October 24th, 1987. He was only 23 years old. Were you shocked to find out that he was murdered?
I was shocked to find out that he died.
Why those choice of words? What's the difference to you?
To go in depth, it was from being ICU, with the mask and him mumbling words and the police protection and coming back 2 to 3 days later, police gone, him in a regular trauma area, and to die after that. That was the most traumatizing of it all. Because once I seen that he made it through ICU and the hard time was over, I knew he was gonna get better, but it was one thing that he just kept saying, that don't leave him there.
Did 50 feel that someone was gonna try to finish what they started while he was in the hospital?
He wasn't direct with it, but He didn't want to stay there.
You know that something eventually is gonna happen to this guy.
So this is where 50 Cent got his name from, the Dada, and this is the person, the Dada, you know what I'm saying, who actually got the respect for being 50 Cent, the Dada, you know what I'm saying, and this is the person, so 50, but they said, what's the difference between Rick Ross and 50 Cent? I guess that Rick Ross, the Dada, the real 50, the Dada, when he actually used the name, the Dada, he went to the people's family, the Dada showed his appreciation, like real nigga shit, the Dada. Rick Ross actually got his name, the Dada, and the other Rick Ross got out, and he still had a few, the Dada, he started suing, so who knows what it is, but GG's, the Dadas, Hyenas, Scubadas, so learn from school, Steve. If you mark it, we gonna sprock it. If you ping it, we gonna sting it. If you drop the low, we gonna flock the low, the Dada. If you tag it, we bring it static, Hyenas, Ahu, the Dada, I rock with the King X. Don't forget the Kennedy doing his minimum march right here, the Dada. We're in the elevator. Who's elevator? God's elevator, the Dada. God chose you because he knew he could trust you. God's best kept secret, the Dada. Stay more righteous than ever, the Dada. You know what I'm saying? And we ain't biased here. So we just say more righteous than ever. The Dada, you heard? Ooh.